Now, we have a lot coming up in the second hour of the programme, including Bernadette Ryan, how to deal with 4 different types of conflict. We're going to be talking to Kathleen Funchion, who's one of the TDs that is proposing this issue regarding dog poo. We'll be talking to her in a second. Firstly, a little mention to Are Our Hearts in the Right Place? This is the cardiac demonstration taking place today at the gates of Leinster House on Kildare Street at 12:30 this afternoon. So campaigners have been on to us just to mention it. Anybody who's any relatives in Dublin and may be able to attend that, please do. Now, people texting in about the issue we covered just before the start of the bulletin. That was with Peter Doyle about dogs' excrement. Kathleen Funchion, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, thank you, good. You're a Sinn Féin TD up in Carlow, Kilkenny. Thanks for joining us this morning. You're one of the co-sponsors of this bill. Tell us, why are you proposing this legislation? Why do you think it's necessary?
Well, first of all, it's a big issue, and I think probably, a lot of your listeners would agree, and anyone that's elected at any level, whether it's council level or TD or whatever level you might be, you come across this issue a lot. It comes up on the doors, people contact you about it. The idea of there's so much, I suppose, dog excrement, to put it mildly, in places, in parks, in walkways, when people are out walking with their kids, people are bringing kids to parks, and it is a big issue. So part of the idea of the bill, and myself and Deputy Sean Crowe are putting this together jointly, is to try and put some of the onus back on dog owners and responsibility on them. The vast majority of people with dogs are responsible, I think, and you regularly see people out and about walking and they have the little bags. But it's like everything, there's always one or two that just kind of think they can do what they like, and they never clean up after dogs. And the idea of this is that it would now become a fine and an offence not to actually carry the bags with you if you're out dog walking. And I think it's about changing behaviour as well, and changing the mindset and getting people to realise that if you're bringing your dog out for a walk, you bring the bags.
You're right, there is a cultural shift that has to take place, and we spoke about people throwing rubbish out the windows, and used to do it in the past, although a texter in from the Kilmeaden Portlaw area said that the culture continues of throwing things out the car windows. You have the problem as well, Deputy Funchion, that just because you have to carry a bag doesn't mean that they're going to pick it up, says one texter, and others are ringing in to say, yeah, you'll see some dog owners that'll go out at night time. They'll basically get their dog to poo at night, and then they won't have to pick it up. It's a disgrace, says Anna in Cappoquin, that some people just have this attitude that they're not going to pick it up at all, you know?
Yeah, you're always going to get, I think, probably the odd one or two, and you're never going to be able to get at something 100%, but we certainly can get it better than what we currently have, and that's the idea of this bill. And I do think that it's about changing the mindset and making sure people are more aware, and making sure they realise now it is an offence, and that kind of nearly embarrasses people as well into making sure that they have the bags and making sure that they have to clean up after their dogs. You're not always going to be able to convince every single person, but I do think that this is a step in the right direction, and it's about trying to change the mindset, change the attitude, but also try to resolve this problem in a practical way, because it constantly comes up, and unless you're literally going to have people stationed at every single park and every single corner of every town and village, you're not going to be able to fully rectify it. That's not a realistic solution.
No, and
so at least this is something that says, it now becomes an offence, and we would hope that it would change attitudes and mindset. You probably will always get the odd one or two, and I'm not sure exactly what the solution is to those type of people. It's
can I ask you
there in relation to people dumping their rubbish, but I do think that at least it's a bit of progress, and it's a bit of help, and it also makes it easier then for people to be fined, because currently the dog warden has to actually the litter warden has to see the dog
actually doing it, yeah. But the problem, Deputy Funchion, sorry, I have to come in there. The problem, Deputy Funchion, in any law is, and you know this, you're in the legislative body, is enforcement, okay? A law is only as good as that's as enforced, and Jimmy and others have texted in about that. So how is this going to be enforced? Some people may accuse you and your party of basically just putting forward this, knowing that there's no real way that this is going to be enforced.
No, I don't.
You're just you're just looking for headlines.
People will potentially accuse us and any political party whenever anybody comes up with a solution to something, as it's political point scoring or whatever. The reason for this bill is because of the level of I suppose, annoyance and anger that's out there from people who continuously contact us and all TDs, I imagine, and councillors from all parties in relation to this issue, and is trying to look at what is something that can be practically done and that's realistic. It will be the job of the litter wardens, and if there's an issue there around looking at resources, and maybe they need to increase the amount of litter wardens.
So it's the litter wardens. What about the guards? Would you see the guards enforcing this?
I wouldn't think it would be a role for the Gardaí, to be honest with you. No, I think that would be probably a little bit unrealistic, but it falls into the litter wardens, and it will make it easier for them to prosecute people. And I think it's a step in the right direction. It's one of those difficult issues that really aggravates people, that's really, annoying. And also, there's health and safety concerns in terms of young kids being around, and everybody knows all of that. So we have to try and look at what is something that we can start doing to fix and help this problem. And I think it's a good practical step.
Okay.
You'll always get begrudgers that think, it's not going to work or whatever, but I think you have to at least start somewhere and try and come up with solutions. Okay.
Kathleen Funchion, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Kathleen Funchion there, Sinn Féin TD, and Carlo Kilkenny. Damien, the next step regarding dogs and poo. I absolutely think dogs should not be on the greenway, says this texter into 083 3333 975. I'm terrified of dogs on and off leads. Full marks to Mount Congreve with their no dogs rule. TJ says, Peter said that people will go out today with their dogs. They won't pick up the poo after them. But I say they won't go out today. They'll go out late at night when there's no witnesses. Anna from Cappoquin has texted to say, Peter is so right about people that won't pick up their dog poo. Cappoquin footpath is just a disgrace. I go walking there every day. I've seen people walk their dogs and they don't pick it up. It is horrible. Another person says, go to the Gillamine. Nobody takes heed of the signs for dog poo. My friend had his clothes weed on in the swimming area. So you go in for a swim, you come out and there's a dog taking a wee-wee on your clothes. Oh, God. Other people saying, how is this going to be enforced? Other people hearing Sean Reinhardt this morning. Great to hear Sean Reinhardt on the radio. He's still happy to help people for no pay, never mind a pay increase. Damien, what's the story regarding HAP rents? What's happening in the new year from Waterford, in Waterford County Council and City Council? We don't know yet. That will be decided over the next few weeks. Good morning, Damien. Let's not forget that all councillors put themselves forward for election. Why crib about pay when they know what they're getting themselves into? Damien, we certainly can't afford a pay rise for councillors. What about pensioners? We got nothing this year. We all incur expenses related to going to work, says this texter. Most of us can't claim for every little thing. We have to make do with what we're paid. Other people saying that councillors, no way should they get an increase. And then also issues regarding the budget, which we're going to hear more about tomorrow. John in the city has phoned into 051846123 to say Sean Reinhardt helped his daughter, who has special needs, to get a job done in her house around 5 weeks ago. He never realised he wasn't a councillor anymore. He said all councillors should take a leaf out of his book, and he wanted to publicly thank him for his help. John, thanks very much for your call, and Sean would appreciate that text and that call. Caller who lives on the Dunmore Cliff Walk says people put poo in their plastic bags and throw them into her garden. Oh my God, she'd rather they just threw in the poo rather than the plastic. It's hanging off her bushes and in the ditch. Now there's a lot of text coming in about the topics that we've been covering already. Councillors can't be too badly off, says this texter. Damien, listen to the whole issue about dog excrement. Owners should buy Pampers for your best friend. Bernadette Ryan is coming on now in a second to talk about 4 different types of conflict in relationships. Firstly, I want to give a special mention as well to the headgear for hospice. Hats and Christmas novelties in aid of Waterford Hospice. They're on sale in the Stuggan Shopping Centre today and tomorrow. Also, we've got 2 lovely books. No Borders, Playing Rugby for Ireland. This is the 2018 Grand Slam edition. Cross Sports Rugby Book of the Year Award winner by Tom English. And the Book of Healing Affirmations, just to go with our piece with Bernadette. And we want to know, I suppose, from a rugby perspective, there's a young man from Waterford who plays with Munster. What's his first name? There's a young man from Waterford who plays with Munster. What's his first name? O'Donoghue might be his second name. What's his first name? Text us in 083 3333 975. Those books are retailing for around €30 and €25 each. So around €50 worth of books there to give out. Bernadette Ryan, good morning.
Good morning, Damien. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good. A Book of Healing Affirmations. I'd say that's something that you're well aware of.
Oh, indeed, and always come in handy.
Tell us, you've just written a really good article about 4 different types of conflict in relationships. Can you go through them, please? What are they?
Well, they're the 4 most common types, and they're the 4 most damaging types, and they were identified by psychologists John and Julie Gottman in the States, who've done like 40 years research on relationships and marriages. So Gottman talks about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which I think is a great title. And he says if all 4 of these are present in a relationship, the relationship is probably not going to survive. So they're very common. We're all familiar with them: criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling.
Okay, just say those again now.
Criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. Now, most couples engage when they're arguing in criticism and defensiveness, kind of, and they by themselves are not as damaging as all 4. But I suppose the most damaging 2 would be contempt and stonewalling.
Okay, and in terms of relationships, does it vary how long you're in a relationship, how those conflict situations might arise or how they might be addressed?
Well, I think it's kind of like, it's sort of, Damien, like an accumulation. Couples fall into a kind of style of arguing, and it isn't that relationships are conflict-free. In fact, the conflict-free relationships, sort of, you'd wonder, well, where is the interest in the relationship? But so conflict is an essential part of a relationship. But of course, it's how we manage that conflict. It's how couples argue that really does the damage and can, over time, then build up resentments, which really do, in fact, destroy the love that they once shared, And quite often, like when couples come in and they're in this whole dynamic, they're kind of wondering what happened. When they get into arguments, they sort of say things to their partner that they wouldn't say to other people, and they wonder where it comes from, So it almost has an energy of its own, So it's really important to identify, as it were, it's always about what's my contribution to this here. In this, for example, in the criticism and defensiveness, criticism always starts off with you always, or you never, or you're an idiot, or all that sort of stuff, So the you word is a kind of a trigger. And then the defensiveness thing is usually but, and I only because, well, you did such things. So, and then it just escalates. So after a while, they don't even know what they're arguing about anymore, So fortunately, there are antidotes to these that the Gottmans came up with, So it's not like people, couples will often say to me, well, I can't complain about anything. And really it's, yes, but complain without blame. Complain without attacking your partner's character as well. You're a lazy so-and-so because you never pick your socks up off the floor, So there's a whole pile of stuff in there, instead of, so the complain without blame is, and that leads off as opposed to a you statement, but with an I statement. I really get upset with the mess.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Is that only a natural thing to do, though? Is it unnatural not to argue?
Oh, absolutely.
Not to have conflict.
Arguing is fine. It's how we do it. And, again, Gottman talks about the sort of the masters of relationships. Couples that learn how to argue well really foster their relationship. The other stuff, the sort of criticism and the defensiveness and the contempt and all of that, it just fosters resentment. It's totally lays the floor at the blame at the other person, instead of, if they really care about their relationship, relationships need to be, particularly in this day and age, there are quite a lot of stressors on relationships. And generally speaking, when things are going well, I guess couples can communicate effectively. It's when there's stressors, relationships, long-term relationships and marriages, things will go wrong. External circumstances, even the birth of a new baby can bring, it's such a joyful thing, but it can bring huge stressors onto the relationship. So it's really for couples to be aware that, we need to protect our relationship. This time of the year, lots of family arguments, coming up towards the big festive season, So if they really care, they will take the time. It's about awareness. And also, for example, around contempt. Couples don't even realise sometimes, none of us realise sometimes that we're being contemptuous of another person when we roll our eyes and we go, oh, there you go again. Oh, for God's sake, when are you going to finish? And what kind of a message is that sending? So I'm not saying people are not perfect, and we all fall into those traps. As I said, if one can identify their own favourite horseman, mine, for example, would tend to be criticism. I know you might find that hard to believe. But,
go on, why is that your favourite?
It's when we're aware of it. So if we can just take that breath and really, instead of attacking our partner's personality, which is the easy, handy thing to do, it takes time, it takes awareness, but if you really care about your relationship, it's worth doing, So it's an effort, and couples can get lazy and all sorts of things, And also there's this: well, if he loved me, he would understand. If she loved me, she wouldn't say that. It's because the person loves you. The thing about criticism also is the positive aspect to it, Damien, is that somebody is trying to change something, for the better. But it's how they're going about it. How is it going to be received? How is it going to be heard?
And then you've nagging. Is there such a thing as nagging in the relationship dialogue?
Well, yes. You know what they say now, Damien? If you ask a man to do something, no need to remind him every 6 months. He'll do it. I know that's terribly pejorative of me.
I know what you're coming from, yeah.
I am married to a Cork man whose way of saying no is I will, yeah.
I will, yeah. That's good. That could be the answer to everything. Listen, Bernadette, thank you so much. We're going to have to leave it there. We're just a little bit short on time, and thanks very much. Great to talk to you again, okay? We'll talk to you before Christmas.
Bye-bye.
God bless, bye-bye. Bernadette Ryan there, relationship counsellor. What do you think about that? How do you argue with your partner? Is it a case of walking out of the house, ignoring it? Is it a case of stonewalling? Is it a case of having a bit of a row? Or is there any particular words you use to sort out an argument? Let us know, please. People texting in. This is hilarious, contacting people who are elected to the Dáil about dog poo. These people are elected to run the country and manage the finances, and ask a TD about wasting their time. There's councillors talking about dog poo. This is ridiculous, says this texter. Damien, from a low-paid council worker. You would not believe the amount of dog poo that we clean out of gullies in Waterford City, says this texter. Increase the fines to cover the 1.3 million deficit. Happy Christmas. There's somebody on the front line of the war against dog excrement. And he says very, very simply, you wouldn't believe the amount of dog poo we clean out of the gullies in Waterford City. It must be just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Damien, another big problem is the lack of bins, says this texter. Once it's bagged, the amounts of bags of dog poo in the life ring boxes around the town is disgusting. I'd agree with you there on that, texter. If councillors get a pay rise, will they be answering their phones for people that voted them into office, says this texter. 083 333 975. Yesterday we didn't get a chance because we overrun with all the different stories we had to play our little piece about men's sheds. That's coming up in a second. Now, we'll give you a few more minutes to text in the first name of the young Waterford person, the player who plays rugby for Munster. O'Donoghue's his surname, 083 333 975. Myself and my partner never argues. He does what he's told. Ha ha, says this texter. The majority of politicians won't deal with serious SHIT, just the kind that can be dumped. It's easier for them, says this texter. Now, earlier in the last few days, we did a special interview with some of the people involved with the men's shed in Waterford City and County. And I was talking to them as they were displaying their wares in the wonderful Butler Centre. Here is a little bit of my report and really, really heartwarming stuff about how the men's shed helps people get through life. What's your own name?
John O'Sullivan.
John, tell us about your shed. Where are you based?
We're the Waterford men's shed. We're based over in the school for young travellers that goes astray, like. So we're there twice a week. It's only Wednesdays and Thursdays we're there.
Damien Tiernan, how's it going?
Damien, how are you keeping, mate?
Good. What have we got here? What are we looking at here? Lizards and all sorts of stuff. What's your own name?
Joe Quilty. This is the Waterford City men's shed. We were the first on the block there. We were established in 2012. The lizard tile, we were doing, it's in the back to education in the Mercy. We do arts and crafts.
Excellent.
We also do cooking, and we do our woodwork in Suvla out by the fire station outside of Waterford.
Some lovely paintings here and drawings here. Stand up here and we'll have a little look.
See, we all start off with an image.
Yeah.
This is Andy Burke, Gary Cunningham. John Sullivan makes these out of clay.
These are little penguins.
Dolphins, you name it. Bamboo.
Are you enjoying it?
Loving it. This is Tony O'Brien.
Tony, how are you doing?
Not too bad, David.
Tony, what does the men's shed mean to you?
A lot. I had a lot of things over the last 2 years. Happened to me in New Heart and the whole lot. And the wife rang up, Gary, and no, could I join? And never looked back. Brilliant.
What do you love about it?
The men that go in and say, you put up at the gate, you see Joe, hello Tony, Gary, go in and have a cup of tea or we're going to make it this tonight. Lovely.
It's been great.
Great, been great. Thanks, Damien.
It's camaraderie, and like Tony said, if people want to come out, just have a cup of tea or put your hands on. So that's what the men's shed is all about, and there's no age limit.
What's your own name?
Joe Clark.
Joe, this is the Port Law men's shed, is it?
Yes, it is, yeah.
So we're looking at different things here. This is the Port Law men's shed. Who have we got here? Name these two men.
John Murray and Michael Power. They will go through the whole atmosphere.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing? What is it? It's like a lighthouse, and yet it's like
a lamp.
A massive lamp.
It's made out of monkey puzzle.
It's beautiful. Made out of monkey puzzles.
Yeah.
Tell me about this, John. That's right. Tell me about this.
This is monkey puzzle. Tell you where they came from now, Piltown. The story of it was that the ESB were objecting to it. The Coonies were the people who owned the house, and they paid the ESB €200 to cut it down. So they asked me if we would be interested. And I said, yeah, how much you want for it? Oh, nothing, we don't know, but you make something for us.
Beautiful.
So I made a table lamp, and we had a little presentation then out in the Six Cross Road to the husband and wife.
It's lovely.
We proceeded with the rest of it for
what do you like?
Standard lamp.
That's fabulous. What do you like about the men's shed? What's brilliant about it?
Well, I've only been, it's only starting, but I think it's great. You know, there's a freedom about it that...
How are you, gentlemen?
We're pretty good, thanks.
Who have we got here? Your names?
This is the Deise men's shed. John Carey is my name. Josh Grant and Lawrence.
What sort of items are you specialising in? We've got different items here, wood turning products. We've got some paintings as well.
Yeah, I'm the artist kind of generally for the thing, so most of the painting work is mine. As well as that, we do some different kind of stuff with the furniture. Again, painted base, but upcycling, you know, and just giving things a new look, a new spin. So it's good.
Lawrence, what do you like about the shed? What does it mean to you?
It's good company, good crack, you know.
Oh.
There's a good crack out there, you know. Good sense of responsibility as well, you know, in the community, you know.
You enjoy it.
I might just enjoy it.
Yeah. There's a talent out there as well, like, you know, and everyone learns from everybody else. We all help, you know, along, and often have joint projects, like, you know, just maybe build something, I might paint it, you know, or whatever.
Bit of competition as well.
Not really. No. We all get on great. Seriously, the crack is great. If you can't take a slagging, don't join. But all very helpful. No matter what you do, if you're not good with your hands, you'll find something to do out there. But just come out and see the place, and you see how welcoming it is.
Where are you based?
Six Crossroads, 19E, Six Crossroads Business Park.
Who have we got here?
Jerry Murphy and Jim St. Ledger.
Jerry, the Waterford Estuary men's shed, based out in Passage.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff here. You only started relatively recently.
About 12 months ago. 2 years.
And what does it mean to you, like the men's shed?
Well, what it means is that when we started off first, it was probably bring people together. We noticed a lot of people when we were retired, and if you weren't involved in anything else, we see them walking the roads up and down below the dock and stuff like that, you know. So then the six of us got together, came up in a conversation one night, and Neil's put actually, in fact, and we said we do something about it, and that's one thing led to another. At one stage we couldn't find the premises. We said, what the hell are we going to do? And then we got a little whisper from somebody else that I think you might. So
the old Harbour Board squash court, as they call it, down at the
Pastures Community sort of put us in the right place, the community place there, and we ended up with it.
You haven't looked back. Are you loving it?
Yeah, I love it every minute, yeah. We started off 2 days. Now we could be there 7 days if we... And you can see the quality of the work we're doing. And plus outside that, we also repair things for different people, you know. We had 2 school benches there for Faith. They turned out absolutely fantastic. And if anybody come in with a broken chair or a pair of crutches, and all like that,
we fix it all.
We fix it up for them as best we can. Yeah.
Continued success, Jerry.
Thanks very much, Damien. Thank you.
What's your own name?
Andy Bork.
Where are you living, Andy?
Clear Manor there, St John's Park.
And lads, a lot of lads will know you from Morris's over the years.
From Morris's, yeah, that's right, yeah.
How many years?
I was there 26 years.
You left a few years ago?
Yeah, well, I left in 2009, you know. I developed rheumatoid arthritis in my bones and what have you, so I made a decision. Redundancy came up at the time, so I decided, it's time for me to move on, and took that for a while. I mean, you did a few things, paid a few bills and what have you, you know, so, didn't know what to do with myself for a long time, so, I phoned around and I was looking to join, you know, something to get into, back to meet people and what have you, you know. You're working for 26 years. You're there every day and you're up in the morning early and you're finishing your camaraderie with the lads and what have you, and you miss that kind of a thing, you know.
So you heard about the men's sheds?
So I heard about the men's sheds.
You're still a relatively young man.
Yeah, I'm only, touch wood, I'll be 54 this year, you know.
Yeah, so you're young. You're
a young man, yeah, you know, and just didn't know what to do. I have a family, I have 3 children, you know, and a wife and that. And just decided what to do, and I made a few phone calls, and I decided that then, I think...
Go down to the men's shed.
Went in. I didn't know. I knew 1 or 2 lads there and knew a few faces, you know. But it's just sat down, had a cup of tea there, and got to know the lads then. And there's Joe behind you there.
And you haven't looked back?
No, I haven't looked back. I'd say roughly going on 4 or 5 years now. I haven't looked back, you know. And it's a great community there. Now we kind of meet on a Wednesday evening and a Thursday, but we do stuff. Cooking on a Wednesday up in the ETB in the back of the Mercy there, and we do a bit of arts and crafts on a Friday morning up there as well, you know.
And what has it meant to you, both from a physical and from a mental perspective?
Oh well, for your own sanity as well, and for your own mental health, it's great, you know. You're meeting lads and you're chatting, and you know what I mean, as lads don't always open up to each other, you know, and what have you, and you know, there's more people doing that now. And there's men's health check, and you're going to the doctor and you're talking about things that you probably wouldn't have talked about years ago and what have you, know, which is all good.
Because it can be a difficult age. The age from 50 to 60, 65.
Yeah.
Men can change careers, they can change lifestyles, they can fall out of relationships, all sorts of different things. So men can go through a lot of different changes.
All right, yeah, without a doubt, yeah, you know, and they can get in on themselves. And I was sitting at home, and you know, you do what you have to do. You can paint the house so many times, and you can, you know, but eventually you sit down and you say, what am I going to do today? And it's very hard, you know. You're not really going to tell your wife everything. And even with men, you won't really open up too much when you go into these places. But when you get to know people, you have a little chat here and a little chat there, you know. And it's good for the head, and it gets you out yourself as well. And it does help, because you get in a dark place. Sometimes you don't know where to go and what to do.
We'll have to give your wife a mention. What's her name?
Susan.
Special mention to Susan.
Special mention to Susan, yeah, you know. And look, she's there for support as well. You know, she's great for support. And do sit down and listen to you as well. But at the end of the day, you have to do it for yourself as well.
So if there's any men out there listening to this, just walk into the men's shed.
Oh yeah, there's loads of men's sheds there. You know, Word of War for the men's shed, and there's the Deise men's shed, and there's all other men's sheds there, you know. But there is places to go to. And look, if you're having 2 problems too, you know, go in and see your doctor as well. You know what I mean? And have a chat there. And there's all probably places to go to, you know, and they'll advise you where to go and what to do, you know what I mean?
What's your favourite thing that you like making?
I tell you now, we're making picnic benches at the moment, you know, and they're great, you know, they're great stuff in there, you know. And look, we're doing board boxes. We did a lot of board boxes for the council there, for the degree room, I have you there last year there, you know, and stuff like that. And so it's good, like, you know, I mean, it keeps your head right as well, you know.
Keeps your head right. Thanks to all the men that spoke to me during that piece. Well done to Andrew Power for helping organise that, and everybody involved in men's sheds in Waterford City, County and the South East. And our winner for the competition is Anthony Butler from Larchville. Well done, Anthony. The books are here to be collected. The answer was Jack. Jack is the answer. Coming up, we're talking about what you need to do if you want to protect yourself tomorrow on Black Friday. Regarding relationships, a texter saying there's 43 years between these people in a relationship. They do have disagreements, but the woman in the relationship makes sure they fix it there and then. She's the boss. LOL. Damien, the first taste of power for Sinn Féin on the council, and it's already heading for disaster. Well, Conor McGuinness would disagree with that. Well done, and thank you everybody for texting in regarding the question to that answer. A lady has just phoned into 051846123. She's just back from a walk in the Balnakill Downs area. Her shoes are destroyed in dog poo. What is wrong with people, she asks. Also a texter saying, talking of dog poo, I live in Lismore Park, go walking around and through the IDA industrial estate. Absolutely no litter bins around. It is disgraceful. Yes, you are right there. Now, are you going to go spend a few bob, if possible, tomorrow on Black Friday? Anya Carroll from the Consumer Protection Commission. Anya, good morning.
Good morning, Damien. How are you?
Good, thank you. Anya Carroll, Director of Communications and Policy at the CCPC. What is the CCPC, Anya?
So we are the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. And one of the ways people might have heard about us is that we run a website where we provide information to consumers about their consumer rights and personal finance. And at this time of year, we're providing information to consumers about Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all things considered in relation to online shopping.
It's just really taken off, the hype, the whole American isms, and every ad on the radio at present is pushing this. There's an awful lot of pressure on people, in a way, to buy stuff now on Black Friday, isn't there?
It seems like, yeah, you might feel like if this is a deal that you're not going to get again. And look, it's probably a good time of year for a sale, because if you're, in the market for Christmas presents, you might be able to save yourself a few bob by doing some online shopping on Friday or over the weekend and into Monday. But one of the things that we would say is, don't assume that just because something is on sale that you're actually getting a great deal, because it might be the case that, particularly with something that's fairly high value, like with electronics and things like that, you might actually get a better deal in your local shop. And just because it's on a website and it seems to be heavily discounted does not necessarily mean that you're going to get the best deal. So really it is important to do your research, particularly for those high value items, and see exactly whether it is a good value item or not. The other thing I think that's really important around online shopping as well is your consumer rights. So if you buy from a website that's based in the EU, you have a number of rights, but one of the ones that people would use a lot is that you have 14 days after it's delivered to change your mind, and then it's another 14 days to send it back. If the website's not in the EU, you don't have those rights to return, and then you're going to rely on the terms and conditions of the website. The other issue in relation to shopping from...
Just on that, sorry, Anya, do you know what the percentages are of people that read the terms and conditions? I'd say it's minuscule.
It's not, though, I suppose, like your kind of contract sort of scenario. Like if you're shopping on a website, you'll probably see a little link that says returns, and it would be fairly easy to find out what the returns policy of the website is. And what you might find, particularly with those that are based in the US, maybe in China and in Australia, you might have 14 or 21 days to return it, but the likelihood is it won't be enough time for the goods to actually be sent back. So that's something else you need to consider. If there is a period of time for you to change your mind, would it be actually physically possible for you to get the goods to the post office and get them sent back in time? So that is something really that's important to consider, particularly if you're buying something that's of high value and you're not sure whether you're going to want to keep it.
And how would you know on a simple basis if a website is based outside of the EU?
So one of the things we would always say to people is, don't just be guided by the website address. So just because it's the .ie or .co.uk doesn't necessarily mean that it's in Ireland or in the UK, because a lot of companies would have multiple websites for kind of multiple locations. So go to the website and where they have contact and click on that link that says contact, and that will give you the actual physical geographical address of the business. And if it's in the EU, then your rights under EU legislation will apply. If it's not in the EU, definitely read what it says about return.
VAT must be paid on imported items at the same rate that applies to Ireland if that's when goods are outside of the EU, is it?
That's right. Now, I think a lot of people have had that experience of ordering something that they think is a great deal, and then, on post or the delivery person arrives at the door with a bill, a nasty surprise. What you will see with a lot of bigger websites is when you buy something outside the EU, they may pay the VAT, they may collect the VAT, so you don't get an additional VAT bill when it's delivered to you. But if something is valued at €150 or more and you're importing it from outside the EU, then there are going to be import charges like customs or excise duties. And whilst that can actually have the effect of doing not only giving you a nasty surprise, but what you thought was great value may turn out to be not that much cheaper than if you just bought it from your local shop. So it is really important as well that you understand that when you're bringing something in from outside the EU, that those import charges will apply.
Yeah, and those import charges, they can vary obviously depending on the products, but they can get quite steep for certain things, can't they?
They can indeed, and I know I've heard of people saying that they've ordered like electronic equipment and there's been an additional, say, €50 charge in terms of customs or excise duties. So it can be a significant amount of money. So again, it is about really just doing a bit of research before you buy something to make sure that the deal you're getting is actually a good deal.
Do your rights as a consumer change, Anya, if something's on sale, for example?
They don't, and it's actually one of the things I think it's very, it's really understandable why some people might be confused about this, because often when you see something on sale in a shop, it might say no return on sale items. And what those kind of signs are actually around is not your consumer rights, but the shop's policies. So there's nothing in consumer law that says that you have a right to change your mind, but a lot of shops will allow you to change your mind and bring something back, and they may alter those policies if something is on sale. If you buy something either online or in a shop, and whether you pay full price or whether it's discounted, you still have rights if there's a fault with the item. So you have the right to a replacement or a repair or a refund.
Only if there's a fault with the item. Like what comes first? The consumer rights that you are pushing and are keeping an eye on, or the rights of the shop owner?
So the rights in terms of consumer law are absolutely sacrosanct. So the shop's policy doesn't impact, and it's almost like they're two separate things that operate. So the shop's policy in terms of accepting a return for whatever reason, that's the shop's policy, and that has no, consumer rights legislation has no bearing upon that at all. So if you think of an example where you buy something for somebody for Christmas and you get a gift receipt, say for instance, and they have 30 days to bring it back to the shop. They're returning that not under consumer legislation, they're returning it under the shop's policy. So that's the difference there.
Finally, are you going to be doing some online shopping on Black Friday?
I will not be doing any online shopping on Black Friday because
why not?
I am
too busy.
Super organised. I have all my Christmas shopping done already.
You don't, do you?
Most of it, yeah.
Oh no! Where did you do some online, or did you do mainly in shops, local shops?
Shop. Local shops.
Different retailers and all sorts of people, and some retail businesses are developing an online presence to supplement and complement their retail experience, but. So many different retailers telling us that people come in, try on something and then go off and buy it online. It's just killing business, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't have the patience for it myself.
Anya Carroll, happy Christmas. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Damien.
Anya, thanks very much for that. Marie has texted in, there's nothing like a real Christmas tree. Jim has wondered why there's no one complaining about the horse poo, piles of it on the footpaths on the outer ring road. It's disgusting. People text in, is anything such as a women's shed? Yes, there is in different parts of the city and county. A lot more tomorrow morning. Keep your texts and comments coming in. It's a pleasure to be your host.